So, hey everyone, I'd just like to give a big welcome to Kate Burke, who joins us today from Trinity Business School at Trinity College Dublin, where she works as a postgraduate career development and alumni officer. You're very welcome to our Engage People Elevate series too, Kate.
Thanks, Aidan. Great to be here. Thank you for asking me to get involved with this.
Yeah, of course. And again, thank you so much for agreeing to take part. I suppose the purpose really of these conversations is to kind of gain insights and advice that we can pass on to graduates who might be looking to make a strong start to their career. So we might kick off, if that's all right with you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, I suppose it'd be great if you could just give us a quick snapshot of your career journey so far, Kate. Maybe talk us through what got you into your initial area, how you got into academia, and then how you've progressed through to today, really, essentially.
Yes, great. Okay, I'll do my best to summarize it briefly enough. So I graduated in 2012, and I ended up taking a course which was one of the first of its kind. It was in multimedia in Maynooth University, and I liked it because it combined creative work like media production, but also computer science and technology. So I graduated in 2012 from that, and 2012 was, I think I was fairly lucky graduating at that time in terms of the economic landscape, that I had missed the worst of the recession. However, things were still a little bit impacted in terms of the job opportunities. Um, but I ended up getting into sales and marketing shortly after. I had a number of different roles. First in things, contact centers, and I actually spent a bit of time working in the airport as well, which is great. And then I got into sales and marketing. I actually have quite a similar background to yourself in that I worked in marketing for a hotel. So I was in hospitality. And after that, I decided to travel. And there's a thing called planned happenstance, which is a career theory. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before.
I haven't actually.
You haven't. That's okay. And I think a planned happenstance is something that I really feel impacted my career. And it's basically about not having a specific plan for your career, because I definitely didn't, but it's about taking opportunity in unexpected events, for example. So I found that opportunities would arise through conversations with people, or through seeing things, or having, through networking, for example. And when I was traveling, I ended up in Sydney in Australia, and I was speaking to people, and a few mentioned that I would be quite suitable for recruitment, as I enjoyed working with people. I like listening to people and finding out about people. And so I landed in recruitment in Australia then. So I spent a couple of years, 3 years in recruitment in Australia, which I really enjoyed, really challenging. And I learned a lot about myself in those few years. And then I decided to come home. And again, through opportunities arising in unexpected ways, I ended up stepping into career development, which was an element of recruitment that I really enjoyed. So focusing more on the career support. And that's how I ended up in Trinity. So hopefully that answers that question for you. Okay.
Yeah, look, it sounds like you've had a varied and enjoyable career journey so far. That's great. Just to touch on the planned happenstance, I have a saying that you set your goals in concrete, but your plans in sand, because they very rarely end up working out like you've planned anyway. But yeah, obviously brilliant to just keep taking advantage of all those opportunities as they arose for you. I think you touched on it a bit briefly that you were just coming out of the tough side of the economic downturn when you graduated, but what other challenges did you experience when you were a graduate?
Yes, yeah, that was one challenge for sure in terms of the jobs market that I merged into. But really, the challenge for me is that I didn't know what I wanted to do. I enjoyed my college, and I enjoyed the course that I did, but I really didn't spend enough time during my course reflecting on what I liked about it, what things I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy, or doing research into the job opportunities that were out there. And so I think I really emerged having no clue at all what I wanted to do. And I got there in the end, of course, but that's something that we know, looking back on retrospectively, that I think would have helped me. So I think for me that was the key challenge.
Yeah, 100%. I kind of actually relate with you there in a way, just in terms of coming through like secondary school as well and college for a while. Sometimes it's very little career guidance on offer unless you go really looking for it and seeking it out. Now, thankfully, universities seem to come on leaps and bounds now in the last number of years. in that regard. So that's absolutely great to see. But yeah, I can definitely relate on that challenge. Um, just moving on, then I was just wondering, like, just given your time in the new role now, what do you think is the importance of good graduates to a business or any organization in general?
I think that bringing in talent and graduates is paramount to any business. I think whether it's through a graduate program, which might be, structured and have, you could be have 5, 10, or 150 fresh graduates coming in, or whether it's just one, graduate coming into your business. I think that it's valuable. They're bringing in fresh perspectives. They're bringing in the latest knowledge. They're at the forefront of information, innovation, whatever it might be in terms of their course content, technology, whatever again that they're studying, but also that they're bringing in new values, things like sustainability, for example, things that are important to them, and that will be important to the customers of the business or whoever, depending on the business operations. I think that's important, and then those new values, of course, will carry through, and they are your future leaders. So I think bringing in, strong graduates to a business is essential.
Yeah, look, I 100% agree. I think we see here as well where we bring in, a good graduate. It's like it's a fresh perspective, that may challenge the traditional ways of maybe doing things, and you just kind of progress as a business then from that. And then also, I suppose, just touching on me on the marketing side of things, like marketing moves on so quickly all the time. There's so many new innovations that those like good graduates fresh out of university, that sometimes they know things or can further things, and that freshen up my way of thinking and how we do things, and it just makes the whole organization thrive as a whole.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If there was any one piece of advice then you might give to a recent graduate who might want to get into, your area of academia, what would it be?
I think that um, what's important, and what I would say for any area of academia, is just to gain some experience, to look for opportunities, as whether it's, as I said, planned happenstance, so whether it's just opportunities that present, or whether it's something a little bit more targeted or specific. I would just to say get some industry experience under your belt, get some work experience under your belt, ideally in something that you're interested in. But the sooner you can get out into the working world, the sooner you learn what you like, what you enjoy, what you're good at. So building that self-awareness is important. So that would be the key piece of advice I would have.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Obviously, I haven't worked in academia myself, but actually, what resonates for me there is that when I was in university, it was always the lecturers who had went out and did some time, working in companies and whatnot, that really resonated with me, and I learned the most from. I think that's just very related to that point there.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, so academia, if they were to look at getting into academia in terms of, say, the role of a lecturer, that would be a more specific career path, in terms of continuing study and perhaps looking at, after their undergraduate, a master's and a PhD. So for me, I'm not an academic as in terms of a lecturer within Trinity. And the careers piece that I do is quite specific. But again, if they're looking at recruitment or careers, industry experience is very useful. But for academia, industry experience can be certainly very helpful too, but also there is a pretty set out path in terms of continued study there as well.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Obviously, it's important to make them aware of the additional study required there, and the carrying out of a PhD and whatnot. Just to discuss then kind of the graduate market today, what do you think are the biggest challenges really facing new graduates over the coming years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think at the minute you can't ignore the economic landscape. We're not even post yet, but we're certainly feeling the impact still of the pandemic, of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's discussions of a recession, so I think that can't be ignored. And while we don't want to have too much of a negative outlook, I think it's important for graduates to consider that. And to keep an eye on things around, jobs that they're interested in. Are they seeing it being advertised, or really just the most important thing there is to connect with their career service, who will be really in tune with the jobs market, while they have access to them in their university, just to keep on top of things like that around the recession, to make sure they're tuning into the news and things like that. But I think really the biggest challenge is around career decisions, choices. As I said, I came out and I had no clue what I wanted to do. And that's something I could have started thinking about or could have taken control of earlier in my studies or in my undergraduate. So for them, if they're in final year, that's not too late. But just to start thinking about it, to start doing some research, to start seeing, even just spending a bit of time on the jobs boards to see what kind of graduate roles are out there. I think that that's a challenge. There's lots of different role jobs out there, so there's almost too many choices. And so to help with that, to start thinking about it in advance, is what I would recommend.
Yeah, perfectly. So I suppose that's kind of what you'd really recommend that they need to do to combat that kind of choice overload effectively, then in the end to kind of give them a better chance of securing what would be their dream role, but maybe they don't know it yet because they have so many different roles to choose from.
Exactly, yeah. So in terms of combating the challenges, the first thing is link in with your career service, even if it's just a quick conversation. Something might, you might have a light bulb moment, just getting an external perspective. Your graduates, it's likely that they're chatting, you're chatting with your parents or your friends or whoever, but to speak to somebody, independent of that can be really useful, and for sure the value on work experience, be it in a bar, a restaurant, in a shop, whatever it is. If you can gain some experience, even better. If you can gain an internship, even if it's a digital internship, whatever it might be, any experience you can gain while you're studying, between second and third year, between third and fourth year, all of that again will help your employability.
Yeah, all sounds good. I think that's something that really stood to me massively as well. I worked the whole way through university, and I think employers or potential employers really kind of valued that then when it came to that stage of looking for a job at the end of it. Um, so what would you say is something extra that graduates can do, kind of above and beyond, such as maybe having a strong online presence to kind of give them a stronger platform for next time if they do fail to kind of land their dream job initially?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you mentioned online presence there, and I think that that very much ties in with the concept of personal brand. Your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room, and you can start building that straight away, in college and things like that. So how you interact with people, especially with things like networking, for example. So networking is probably a sidestep of that, but you need your network. Sorry, you should build your network before you need it. So first year, second year, getting involved with societies, in third year and fourth year. And again, it's never too late to start networking. Even if you just graduated, start attending events. There's more in-person events happening. Some graduates might be interested in working for a startup, for example, and Dog Patch Labs in Dublin would have events that they might be able to attend. Or on Eventbrite, if you put in a quick search of an area of interest, you'll find events all over Dublin or Ireland that are linked to that. So starting to attend these events, chatting to people, and then your personal brand ties in with that, in terms of how you interact with people, and then your online presence to match with that. Of course, personal brand includes your CV, your LinkedIn, anything else. So that's really where I would see people being able to take it to another level.
Yeah, like 100%. I think personally, I've seen the benefits massively of personal branding. Kind of at the, I suppose, midway point of last year, I started taking my personal brand seriously and just being consistent in my networking and attending online events and posting regularly and just getting my voice out there. And the doors and the opportunities that it has opened up to me in the period since, it's absolutely amazing. And I just would recommend any recent graduate or anyone still in university to just go for it and go all in. At times when you first start out, people might be like, a lot of the time your friends might be like, what are you doing posting and all this all the time, but just go for it. At the end of the day, you'll be
Absolutely.
the one that'll be the big winner. I certainly see that as the biggest opportunity actually for new graduates, but what would you say that you see as the biggest opportunity for new graduates?
I think the biggest opportunity is how the landscape of careers has changed. So previously, say for their parents' generation or some of their siblings' generations or whatever it might be, the idea was that you had to finish college or finish school or whatever and get a stable, secure job for the rest of your life, kind of thing. Whereas now we've got the gig economy, we've got more internships, we've got different types of work, I guess, emerging. and there's not as much pressure on graduates to get it right the first time. We're seeing that after 2, 3 years in a role, people are moving on and they're trying something new, or they're moving industry, or whatever it might be. And so I see that as the biggest opportunity, is more around, you have the chance to go try something. If it doesn't work out, no big deal. You'll have learned something, you'll have got some transferable skills in whatever it was that you were doing, and you can take that forward into something else, and you'll have learned about yourself. And I think that's what I would see, is that the landscape has changed. And yeah, I think that that's really positive.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I think it's the opportunity to just chop and change if you need to, and you can learn so much about yourself whilst doing that. But also, I think it's so important to be happy with what you're doing, and not to just stick with something just for the sake of it. But yeah, you're 100% right. That's definitely more of an opportunity now than ever before. Because yeah, I suppose back in the years gone by, people would just generally tend to stick with the safe and secure option. Um, but I think, yeah, just with all the talk kind of around Gen Z and that shift in values that we just would have spoke about, what do you think the best graduate employers are doing to attract graduates and the new generation?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think we're seeing some great activity from employers. And as part of my role involving employer relations, I would speak to graduate employers quite often. And I noticed that those that are really nailing the candidate attraction strategies are they're listening to the graduates, they're listening to their target audience in terms of what they're interested in, what they're looking for. And graduates nowadays are far more aware of the culture of a company and the values of a company. So things like diversity and inclusion, the DEI incentives or initiatives, diversity, equality, and inclusion are something that our graduates are interested in and are looking out for on company websites, and when they're meeting companies at careers fairs and things like that. Also flexibility, work-life balance, things like hybrid working. This is what the graduates are looking for, and employers that are making changes to their working patterns, working hours, according to that, and who are promoting that, of course, as well to the graduates. I think that they're doing a great job. As well, and sustainability values, of course. I mean, I've had a number of students mention to me that if a company doesn't have isn't working towards sustainability, or practice, or whatever it might be in terms of initiatives, or they might even have it listed on their website. Graduates are looking for that. They're looking for activity in that space as well. And so the best graduate employers are making changes in these spaces as well, which they should be, not just for the purposes of candidate attraction, but they actually are doing it, and they're living up to what they say they're doing. And I think that's what's attracting the new talent.
Yeah, I think 100% there's definitely a shift really in the companies that proactively do the things that you just mentioned. They're definitely the ones that are attracting the kind of the top talent now, and the people that really care about making a difference, and the companies that really make a difference, because at the end of the day it's all about making a positive imprint on the planet together. So just finally then, if you were a grad now, Kate, what job would you do that wasn't around when you started?
Oh, that's a great question. I think probably for me it would be something in along the lines of sustainability. Now there certainly were roles in that, perhaps more in technical fields like engineering and other areas when I graduated, but I would like to pair it, with my business knowledge or my interest in business back then. So probably something in sustainability consulting, or helping businesses to devise their policies and their efforts to get to carbon net zero. So I think that that's something that I would have liked to work in, for sure.
Very good. An interesting and definitely rewarding career paths, I think that would be. Well, look, Kate, thanks so much for giving us your time today. I've definitely found it a thoroughly enjoyable conversation, and I think there's been plenty of helpful takeaways for graduates here.
Thanks, Aidan. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed that. Thank you.